Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Roll Call. I'm your host, Joseph Giacalone. We're not going to spend a lot of time with a lot of things going on because Josh Zeman, as you can see, is with us, but he's up for an award in Tribeca tonight, so he's heading to Manhattan. He's going to be doing all that stuff, so we want to wish him luck on that, and we want to also thank him for giving us some minutes this morning. Josh, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Much appreciated. Important day.
Yeah, this is a real important day in regards to further, I guess, delving down the rabbit hole of Rex Heuermann and seeing how other victims, can finally get justice or their families at least. So this is actually kind of exciting in that respect.
Yeah. I mean, Jessica Taylor and Sandra Castillo. Maybe we all hope that Jessica Taylor and Valerie Mack would get some sort of justice, but the fact that Sandra Castillo is part of it is really kind of mind blowing, I think, for a lot of people. And it's at the end of the day, we do a lot of discussing theories and things like that, but at the end of the day, I think it's all, hopefully everybody understands that it's in service of watching the detectives, making sure that the mistakes of Suffolk County don't happen now. And I think we keep getting proven wrong in that respect in terms of the work that Tierney is doing, and that's great. But also just to make sure that we understand what the real true intent here, and that is victim centric. And it's a very sad day for everybody's family. Right? The knowing, but then finally having the answer, but then knowing what truly happened must be a really double-edged sword.
Yeah, and I think we're going to unfortunately hear some of those details about what happened in regards to these victims, and that's what they usually do when they read these indictments. And I want people to be prepared. We are going to watch the presser live. There are no cameras allowed in the court, so we're not going to be able to see it as it happens. But I'm sure that the district attorney will talk about that. He's doing it on Instagram, which is a bit of a pain in the butt because you got to keep on refreshing it. If you're not catching it exactly when it goes live, you got to keep on refreshing it. So we'll try that. That's around 11.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but Joe, you heard that what we're going to find out with regards to Jessica Taylor is not pretty.
Yeah, where I've been told that the word that actually was used was bad. Now, when you hear the term bad from law enforcement sometimes, or when law enforcement hears the word bad, they think of two things. One, it could be an issue where you're dealing with other cases that could fall apart, or you're also talking about really terrible things that happen to a human being, and probably leaning more towards that one.
Yeah.
But I'm open up, Josh, to the fact that there's other cases that might fall apart because of it, because specifically with Sandra Castillo.
Yes, right. So there's either two ways to look at it, right? And I've been thinking about this all night. It's like, the way that Jessica Taylor again tragically was found. Does that mean that they have some kind of proof of torture? Unfortunately, and again, this is really bad, but there were so many internet searches for torture on Rex's phone, on his computer. That was very bad. And then I think a piece of telling evidence was the fact that they pulled out the wall paneling from the basement, which basically does that basically say to you, okay, they have a video or pictures of torture, and then there's a wall paneling behind it, and that's why they grabbed that wall paneling. So again, not something we should really go into. Unfortunately, the family members are going to hear what's happened, right? They heard last night what happened, and yeah, just really tragic. Again, you finally get the answer after so many years of wondering what happened to your family, child member, brother, sister, and then you're faced with the knowledge that something truly tragic, hideous happened. So it's really it's a no-win situation almost, right?
Yeah, and I'm going to avoid exactly what that what that was supposed to have happened to these victims. But the issue that comes down to is just from the investigation standpoint. You brought up the point where they took out the panelings. I'm hearing that they actually dug underneath the vault. There is a lot of different things that we don't know for sure. But here's the deal: I brought it up before, and so have you. Those 422 extra electronic devices.
Yeah.
What was found on those devices? I mean, how many? I mean, listen, I don't have any of my old phones. I don't keep any of them. I usually turn them in, right? I usually, when I upgrade, I give it back, so you get a couple extra bucks back, right? Because
Sure.
what do you do with all this old technology? I
Yeah.
mean, but 422 things, and they were talking about phones and
Yeah.
all kinds of crazy stuff that is really useless today.
They must have found, the fact that the wood paneling just leads me, again, don't really want to speculate, but just leads me to believe that they have found some kind of video, some kind of photos, and not surprising considering Rex pathology. But I would like to pivot to Sandra Castillo because that is a true shocker. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, here's the deal, right? So this would make 1993 for her case, which would be Rex would be what, he's 60 now, so he's approximately what, like,
Yeah.
yeah, so he's like what, 30 years old or 29 years old at the time, which fits him right into the research of when these serial killers really start. And then, Josh, that opens up to dozens, if not 100 additional cases in regards to all of the different cases found along Long Island.
So then when we thought somehow Peaches, or Karen, was the first victim, Peaches was the first victim, or Karen was the first victim. Now Sandra would become the first victim, right?
Yep.
And that opens up from 97, 96 to now 93. So that's an additional 4 years. For me, what's so nuts about it is it's a kind of whole shift in the offender's area, right? Because the North Sea he was never going that far east, number one. So that's a totally new thing. That totally opens up that whole side of basically Long Island. For me, it's also nuts. But Joe, I really want to understand something, right?
Okay.
Sandra Castillo is found within months of Rita Tancredi and Colleen McNabb, right? She's found in the middle, right? So Bitroff is committing crimes, and he is committing a crime right in the same time within how many months span?
Yeah, only a few months. And here's the thing, right? We know that Rex is searching for Bitroff with certain things. I was hoping that somebody in the media, and you know what, they can take this and run with it, would start searching to see if there was a connection anywhere between these two guys. I mean, the
Joe,
issue that comes down to it's kind of glaring.
all night, I was up all night long. You gotta ask. Let's start in the beginning real quick. Why did Rex Heuermann pick Manorville to dump Jessica Taylor? Tragically, sorry, don't even want to say dump, but to dispose of Jessica Taylor and Valerie Mack. Why Manorville? There has to be a reason, right?
Yep. And we kind of touched on this on Saturday when we did our show, and then about what was coming up, and like luckily we were right? We went out on a limb on Saturday.
Sure, we went out a little limb, but we got confirmation. I didn't even know about this. Why does he pick Manorville? We don't know, right? Maybe it's because, and if you look at logic's sake, you would say, oh, he picked Manorville. I mean, he has to pick it because he's familiar with the area. He would not just drive randomly around with a body in a car 1 hour away from where he lives, right? So he has to be somewhat familiar with the spot. He knows the spot. Okay, how does he know the spot? Okay, it's a known hunter spot. So maybe he goes hunting there. That would make sense because he dropped the other bodies in a place where he went hunting. He also knew it because he worked at Jones Beach. Yes, but I believe that the hunting is really the thing because he wrapped them in camo, right? Okay, so hunting. So he knows that area from hunting. Then, and that's a very logical thing to say, he knows that area from hunting, and that's why he dropped the bodies there. Again, this is all about hunting and victims and kind of some weird hunting psychopathy. However, we also know why he picked that area. Maybe we had heard, and I forwarded you the thing that the cops and a news crew followed the police to the Calverton shooting range. The Calverton shooting range is the next exit above
Yes.
the Manorville exit. It's basically 10 minutes, 7 miles away. And they specifically went to a place, by the way, if you read like the Yelp reviews of the Calverton, I've never been there, but if you read the Yelp reviews, and there's quite a history of the Calverton shooting range as being a kind of what they call it, quote unquote, the Wild West. Remember that Rex also had a number of illegal guns, automatic weapons. So, you tell me, I think you want to find a place where you could fire these guns, right? These kind of
Yep.
crazy guns that you have. So he's going to go to a place that maybe is a little bit more of a Wild West. So he probably went to that shooting range. And that's where it just kind of really starts to get interesting because, okay, did he go to the shooting range? On his way to the shooting range, he knew that that was a place to go, the hunters. But then is it a coincidence that he dropped these bodies less than a mile and a half away from where Bitroff lived?
Yeah, I mean, there's just so much to think about in that respect. I just want to take a moment to thank Anita for that super sticker, and also Sleuth Investigates says, when was hunting season back in 1993? I felt it was on a hunting trip where Sandra Castillo was unalive. It's an hour and 30-minute drive from Freeport to Massapequa. Yeah, that's exactly correct, Sleuth. Thank you very much for that too. But the
So
issue
far.
that really comes down to, is that there are records kept when you go to a gun range. I don't care even if it's the Wild Wild West.
Right.
You have to show your driver's license. You have to show your, if you're going to shoot pistols specifically, you have to show your pistol license. And we do know that both Nassau and Suffolk is a little easier than New York City to get a pistol license, but it's still very difficult. So
Right.
that's something else that nobody's really kind of following up on about all of those pistol licenses.
This hunting thing, to me, is now just like so big, the hunting thing and the fact we brought up the fact that like the pistol ranges because both men were hunters, but then I didn't know that the police went to the Calverton shooting range, and then I was like, oh my god, so this is crazy. I would have said that there was even more tied, but then the thing that makes it weird and strange is why would he then search for Bitroff on his computer? Wouldn't that indicate that he didn't know him?
Yeah, or I guess maybe he was trying to figure out which victims were attached to him and which ones weren't. Maybe tracking if the police were onto him about, let's say it's Sandra Castilla is the one, right? I mean, that's basically what it is, because the district attorney, the assistant district attorney in Newsday was quoted as saying, "We liked them for Sandra Castillo, but we couldn't prove it." Now, there was a mixture of DNA in her case, which brings me to the elephant in the room. Right. There's mixtures both in Rita Tangradi and Colleen McNamee. Does maybe he's searching for Bitroff because those two victims were also part of Rex's, group of ladies that he liked to contact.
I'm just so the bodies being so close to Bitroff's house, Sandra Castillo being taken around the same time period as Bitroff, the connection between the guns. He was going to a shooting range that was 5 miles from Bitroff's house. Something is weird there. I don't want to make crazy speculations, and I'm not one, I'm actually like the anti-conspiracy with regards to all the crazy stuff in Oak Beach, but man, I don't know. I'm starting to really think that there's some kind of interplay between the two of these dudes. Right?
Yep, I think absolutely. Before we get into the next part of it, Steel Guitar asks, what channel can they find the Killing Season? Where's the latest?
Yeah, Amazon Prime. Amazon Prime, I think, would be the best place. I think I don't get any money if you watch it on A&E, but I think I get a quarter of a penny if you watch it on Amazon.
A quarter of a penny. Hey, listen, that's retirement money. That's a retirement fund.
The joke of it, like, is like, the what's her name, Asa, being paid like $1 million for that dumb TV show that's going to happen. Bitroff could be innocent, by the way. Somebody says, "Oh, Bitroff is innocent." There is there's questions, right? There's
Well,
definitely
here,
questions.
James Lisiski says Bitroff is innocent. There's a lot of people that are starting to think that now,
Yes.
or maybe thought about it from the beginning. And but the only thing I push back on that one is that his brother testified that he helped him get rid of the body.
And when he was, he's like, "How did you find me?" And he's like, "Your brother." And he's like, "I fucking knew it. The quote, that's what he said. You know, I don't know. I don't know, man.
I just think that they probably got Bitroff correct for, at least one of those cases.
Yeah.
Specifically the one where the brother is testifying that he helped remove the body from the home. I mean, that's a little hard to make that go away. But the issue that comes down to is I think that Rex had relationships with those two girls. I think he was worried about it, and that's why he was tracking it. Because here we are now discussing Sandra.
Yeah. So then here's the other thing, right? Both, I have like a weird brain thing. Bail application has been published.
If you can post the link, Gritty, so we can share it with everybody in the.
Sandra Castillo was from Ridgewood, Queens. Again, Queens coming up with regards to Rex. Worth noting. The other two women, Rita and Colleen, were sex workers in Patchogue. So there you have a little bit of a difference as well. So I thought that was very interesting. Just the fact that maybe we're talking about two different areas. Rex would be going to Queens. We know Queens is so big for him because of his work. But then Bitroff is picking up those two women. And by the way, they are found fairly far apart from each other. The two groupings, if you will, Bitroff's victims and Sandra. That is pretty far away.
Yes, and it also opens up the other case that we've mentioned before, and actually Raul and I had a whole show on him. Was Andre Isaacs? He was found in East Mauritius, which now opens up that case because this with Sandra Castillo's case is so far out there. East Mauritius is a lot closer to Manaville than Southampton is. That's for sure.
Yes, and we also know that, as discussed on our last show as well, Rex Heuermann is bisexual, so wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility.
Okay, our buddy Raul just sent me the affidavit. I don't know if I'm going to be able to share it per se on here.
Can you read it? Can you read it?
Yeah, I'm going to just say. Let's just see.
Please.
All right. Where is the new one? Okay, here it is. Today, defendant Rex Heuermann stands before this court charged by the grand jury in another superseding indictment, which incorporates each and every one of the above accounts, which is the Gilgo 4. I'm not going to read those again, as well as the addition of, and here we go, there are two names here. Murder in the second degree in violation of New York State Penal Law 125 for Jessica Taylor in or about July 21st to July 2026 of 2003. Murder in the second degree on Sandra Castillo. So it is now official, and they put her date as November 19th through the 20th of 1993. So there it is, folks. Those are the two official, right from the affidavit. So if Raul is watching, thank you very much, Raul, and Gritty too, because she had alerted us to it also. And Russell Lee, thank you very much for that super sticker.
Any other specific?
Yep, I'm going to just scan through it. So this occurred, let's see, on July, they started the superseding indictment. Okay, 2003, 2011, discovery of human remains. They're talking about when, so 1993, Sandra Castillo.
Yep.
I'm trying to see if they have any, they said on March 29th, Ms. Taylor's skull, hands, and forearm were discovered along Ocean Parkway.
Yes.
And they updated the map. Let's see. Okay. So here it is. A forensic analysis of Rex Heuermann's digital devices also revealed the following that are about July 28th, 2003. Rex Heuermann assessed a Newsday article entitled Cops Seek Help in IDing Manorville Body. So they have his phone records all the way back to 2003. I mean, that's insane. Regarding discovery of Miss Taylor's human remains, that online activity was subsequently deleted. So he searched for it and deleted it. Heuermann conducted an internet search for a new Chevrolet Avalanche, despite his 2002 Avalanche just over a year old. The analysis further showed an attempt to delete the search for the vehicle. Notably, this activity occurred days after Miss Taylor was discovered and just days after witnesses observed a vehicle matching the description of Heuermann's vehicle leaving the scene.
But leaving which scene?
Apparently, it says it doesn't specify which one, but this is all 2003. That would be an absolutely new right there. I'm going to read it again. Notably, this activity occurred days after Miss Taylor was discovered and just days after witnesses observed the vehicle matching the physical description leaving the scene.
That would be leaving the scene of Miss Taylor being
left in Manorville. Left. Yeah, I was hold on. Finally, sorry. Says finally, we'll make the model and vehicle Heuermann search for is the same as his 2002 Chevy Avalanche. The exterior color is different. Arrival blue was the color. See the embedded image, as well as another in Summit White, which are significantly brighter in exterior, as opposed to his dark green Avalanche. Here it is. Okay, here's now more forensics. So we have digital forensics, and now we have forensics. Hairs recovered from the remains of Jessica Taylor. During the course of the investigation, Ms. Taylor's body was examined by forensic scientists within the Suffolk County Community Lab, which revealed that Ms. Taylor had been decapitated, dismembered, and her arms below her elbows, and revealed irregular disruption of the victim's breast area. Okay, I'm going to try to sanitize some of this, guys. There was specifically from a surgical drape that had underneath the victim. Subsequent examination, there was male hair underneath Taylor, led to the determination that a human head hair with Caucasian European descent. Let's see. There's some other gory details I have to skip over here. However, is based on DNA testing capabilities and was unsuitable at testing at the time. On or about August 24th, 2023, the Gilgo Task Force brought a cutting of the male's hair underneath Taylor to an outside forensic laboratory, previously referred to as Exhibit A, which specializes in forensic mitochondrial DNA analysis. And remember, mitochondrial DNA is only derived from mom, so it wasn't a full DNA profile that they had. So they had to do some special things. It wasn't nuclear DNA. On or about February 1st, Forensic Lab issued a report concluding that the mitochondrial DNA profile developed from the male hair underneath Taylor and the profile developed from the defendant's buccal swab are the same. So there it is, folks.
So they have DNA evidence for Jessica Taylor.
Yes. And electronic evidence to boot. And apparently a witness that sort of struck.
But there's no pictures, which is kind of good in some respects.
Yeah, there's no photos in this. The only photos that they show in this indictment are the cars that he had, that his truck and the things that he was searching for with the truck. They have included. I'm just going to warn everybody, if you're going to read this this affidavit or this indictment, it's not for everybody. Let's put it that way. I skimmed over some of the. If you notice, I just stopped in the middle of it as I got to it because it's gory in detail, and I guess this would be the bad part of it when we hear about bad. So on August 24th, 2023, the Gilgo Task Force brought out a cutting, of the hair underneath it, which matches 99.9.6% that it is Rex. And that hair was underneath the remains of Jessica Taylor. So, Josh, when we spoke about this on Saturday, and you were referring to the plastic and the sticks that was on there, remember I had mentioned Peaches, Jessica Taylor, Valerie Mack, all found within some sort of, and I use the term like wrapping.
Yeah.
Right. So we unfortunately, guys, when we're talking about this stuff, it's an absolute like landmine situation, right? Because you could say something wrong and you upset people. That's not our intention. We're trying to be as respectful as possible, but these facts are the facts, and my old job has kind of made me a little more, okay, here it is, just get it out there. But I understand not everybody is able to deal with that kind of thing. Let me just skim through. So far, what do you think out of this? You're holding your head.
Well, it's just we just have this idea that he's some super serial killer, but he leaves his evidence at every single crime scene. Number one, like he's more.
So here's for those of you that are going to say, well, how do we know it's Rex's hair? 1.837 times 10 to the 603rd power. Now, for those of you that suck at math like I do, let's put it this way. It's one, you have a chance of winning lotto 1 in 320 million, right? So this number is like in the, I don't even know, octillions, whatever it is. So let's put it this way. You could win the lotto like 100 times over than this DNA being somebody else's other than Rex's. Okay? Let's just put that to bed right off the bat. And here, listen to this. 2 forensic laboratories have now independently determined that the hair recovered from the surgical drape. So there it is, a surgical drape, not a plastic bag. So I guess.
Drape. What the hell is that?
I don't know. I want to let me see. All right. I'm gonna try to share the screen here for a second, and let's.
Wow. Yeah. Somebody said, "I hope he starts to confess." I would say absolutely, dude.
Okay, so as we're doing this, I'm going to open up another tab. Can you guys still see this, or are you still with me?
Yeah.
Okay. Surgical drape. Okay, so here it is. I found it. It's not very gory, so let's just hang on one second, folks. Sorry, I'm used to share screen.
Surgical drapes are what you see on TV when they're operating.
Yep. So there they are. So it wasn't a plastic bag; it was a surgical drape. I guess the only reason I can think of, and maybe is that it absorbs blood and stuff like that. Do we have any nurses or doctors in the room that can say that the reason why that we would have a surgical drape? Gina Gomez, thank you. So
I mean, maybe he's trying to, he was like trying to get rid of the tattoo at that point. I don't know. It's
and also too, they're making another effort here to let everybody know that Asa was not home during Jessica Taylor's death.
There you go.
So they're making a big effort to try to let everybody know that Asa was never around when these things happens, folks. So we need to lay off this stuff.
I know.
So here, Heuermann's family travel in relation to disappearance of Jessica Taylor. I mean, listen, Ray Tierney is a very smart man. He has made sure that he is, when these doors are open and this kind of stuff is going on there, he's been shutting it down, which I hope other DAs in some of these big cases are doing the same thing. Yep. So as part of the ongoing investigation, the Gilgo Task Force has established that Heuermann's wife and children were out of state at the time of Miss Taylor's disappearance, a consistent theme attributed to the defendant for each of the time the charges of homicide have happened so far, which would have allowed the defendant unfettered time and opportunity to execute these crimes.
And by the way, Joe, I was reading some of the interactions that he was having with sex workers, and he was always like, "My wife isn't going to be there." That was his second statement. So he keeps, the wife not being there is really a big thing. But that's so interesting.
Not only is it interesting, but it says here specifically, the defendant's daughter was in kindergarten school at McKenna Elementary, and we have a special guest just arrived here too, Jay Oliver from Long Island News Radio. We have Josh Zeman here, and Jay, welcome. So we're just going through this. So officially, Jessica Taylor and Sandra Castillo has been added. I don't know if you were caught up on that, but we were just reading the affidavit, and it appears that Rex's wife was not home again during this time frame.
Yeah. This is it's good to be with you guys. It's the culmination of all that took place. Josh, 6 weeks, Vanderbilt, another hit of the home. for a couple of weeks in Massapequa Park, and Ray Taney's the type of guy. Listen, he's not going in half-assed.
No.
He's going to make sure his everything is cemented before he goes in with this type of day-to-day. So, well done by all.
Yes, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, I mean this is a what's the word I'm looking for? This is a masterclass on how to deal with these kind of cases. It's a masterclass.
Yeah,
no question.
People still saying I think Asa is involved, and what about the book? Are we talking about the fact that there was a murder book, that there was a book of crime scene photos? Guys, how many books of crime scene photos I have?
Yeah. And can you imagine if they start dumping our Google searches? Right?
Jesus. I just dumping on the wife. I just don't get it. I just don't get why people would think she's involved, and why, like, it's almost like victim blaming.
But it's kind of interesting though, Josh, because how does she not know one iota of what Rex could be doing behind the scenes? I mean, taking people into the home, what they uncovered in the basement the other day, some of the panels, we'll find out exactly what that was all about. But I just have a hard time believing, the fact that Asa wasn't aware. I mean, listen, my wife's
Oh. I wonder what he was going to say.
Yeah, your wife has already shut you down.
Exactly. My wife won't let me speak.
We lost you, Jay.
Look, it's not. Let's talk about what does awareness mean. Let's define our terms. Do you believe that she knew he was bringing sex workers into the house, or do you believe that she knew he was killing women? I think that's a two different idea of awareness. There are a lot of women who are, and I would like to really speak to a victim's advocate about abused women to really find out, because I think that would, change the conversation a bit.
Well, absolutely. I mean, unfortunately, at this time, we're only dealing. We lost. We're going to try to bring Jay back.
Yeah.
Jay, we lost you. Can you hear us? Jay, we lost your audio.
Yeah. So it's like, I still believe she's look, I may easily be wrong. That's more wrong than right. But yeah, I just don't feel like I still feel that that's somehow battered wife syndrome. It's like Ray's a serial killer. Rex is a serial killer, guys. Like, let's not forget how crazy, manipulative, horrific, and all those things are happening, and how that affects somebody else. So I don't know. Let's leave it at that.
All right. There it is. There's the indictment.
Oh wow.
Okay. So there it is, folks. So I'm gonna. Okay, you guys can see me scrolling through it.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, good. So I'm going to get to the point where, because I had to open up a different tab. I'm still new to all this stuff too. So here's some of the things that I'm going to gloss over the what do you call it? But I saw something as we were talking. So here's his Google searches, and he's looking for that 2003 Chevy Avalanche in a different color, and that's the car that he was searching for, which is the exact same car that he had. And here's the thing I was reading about the hairs, but there's something else here that I saw while we were talking. And here's a phone bill, right, from AT&T long distance. Look at this thing, how old this thing is, right? When's the last time you saw a phone bill like this? Now here, if you look up on the top here, so they have witness accounts have corroborated via telephone records that electronic data seized during the execution of 2023 warrants. For example, agents of the Guilford Homicide Task Force seized AT&T records which detail calls made from Heuermann residents from his house.
Nah.
These records show that the aforementioned family and vacation, the landline telephone associated with Heuermann's residence, which was located, there we go, here and after target residence, made several phone calls to a telephone number bearing an 802 area code. Further investigation has tied this phone number to Smuggler's Notch Resort. Thus, investigators believe defendant Heuermann made these calls from the target residence to his family staying in Jeffersonville, Vermont. And there they are.
Yeah. Got it.
The Gilgo Task Force also seized phone records attributed to Heuermann's Manhattan businesses. These records further corroborate Heuermann's stay in New York and his family travel to Jefferson, Vermont. Landline, several calls.
Wow.
Okay, and there they are. So, and there's one here, Omaha, Nebraska, too, right? That's another interesting little tidbit. Finally, in 2023, the Gilgo Task Force seized a hard drive from the basement. There we go, Josh. An extraction and analysis of that hard drive revealed that it contained a Palm Pilot backup file, which appeared to contain defendant Heuermann's date book or calendar for the relevant dates. The Gilgo Task Force subsequently hired a digital forensic expert by utilizing native Palm software. So we're talking like ancient history in regards to technology here. Right? We're talking about Palm Pilots. And then here, wife at Smuggler's Cove. So there is the calendar that shows that she is away during that time frame.
Yeah.
Based on the foregoing investigation, the date is clearly established defendant Heuermann's wife and children were indeed located outside of the state. Okay, folks. So I think we need to put the ASSA stuff to bed until, and I've told this before, Josh, and you've heard it on the whole thing too. And here's the deal. We're going to welcome Dave Sarney to the group in here too. Dave, welcome.
Thank you. How's everything?
Good. We are. I just want to thank Jessica Frick for that super sticker. Thank you very much, Jessica. And also, Gritty Grit gave us 5 memberships to the channel. I want to appreciate that too. So we're just reading the affidavit on what's going on here, Dave. Some interesting information. But Dave, when you first heard the news, what did you think was coming down?
I was kind of shocked for the fact that you were going to have 2 murders. You're going to get indictments on. This case is not over, and my concern has always been, you're talking about 1993. Now, what else? Where has this guy been since '93 doing this?
Yep.
The great work
we would talk about that.
Great work detectives have done, and I go back to this whole thing, and it's always been what the investigators do at the time of the incident, at the time of the discovery. They do great work, and what Rodney Harrison brought back to this as the forefront of an investigation for Suffolk County Police Department. That's the reason why you have what you have here, and kudos to everybody involved. It is surprising, shocking, and I'm always at what next will come out of this. And this is something you're going to see more. I do think there's more. This guy is not over in 5 or 6 bodies. 1993, did he disappear? Did he come back? Did he do something outside the state? What was his travels like? And the thing is, you're only going to identify missing DOAs if you find them. So who knows? But amazing work. It's been amazing.
I hear you. So Josh, as we go through this affidavit, what is the thing that really kind of jumps out at you on the page here?
I don't know. Where? What?
Well, for instance, now we're dealing with here, when you take a look at it, so we have the discovery of human remains. So, I mean, the DNA and the digital forensics is mind blowing.
Crazy. Yeah, the fact that they had this DNA for a while too. That's very interesting. Kept it under wraps. So yeah.
Yeah.
And,
so,
and
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, please.
So now we're going to just jump into the Sandra Castillo. So Dave, just hang on with us here for a second while I go through some of this on the affidavit. So we know 50 Old Fish Cove Road in North Sea. Now, here it is, Josh. Hairs recovered from the remains of Sandra Castillo. This is becoming an absolute textbook example about criminal investigation. Remember, now 1993, we have to give, honestly, Suffolk credit. I mean, we beat Suffolk County Police Department up a lot.
We do.
Right? We have. But in 1993, we had no idea about the DNA capabilities yet or anything else. They saved these hairs knowing that this, because, and then here we are today, 30 years, almost, 30 years later. And then when we're dealing with this, that's absolutely incredible that they did this. So we have to give credit where credit is due.
Sure.
So here it is. Look at that. A female hair. We've seen this before, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And a male hair. So there's a female hair and a male hair, as well as one from a tape lift from a white shirt from the victim's head. In 2014, well before the identification of Rex Heuermann as a suspect in Mr. Costilla's murder, the hair on Costilla's were sent to the laboratory, which was able to develop mitochondrial DNA profiles for the hairs on Costilla. On or about August 2014, and received an extract of John Bitroff's buccal swab. So there we go. Forensic lab was taken to able to develop mitochondrial DNA from Bitroff's squad, and at the conclusion of its analysis was to exclude John Bitroff.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all right. Let's see what happens. Is prior to Heuermann engaging in a suspect with Ms. Costilla's murder to known samples provided by the Gilgo Task Force on February 29th, 2014, Leap Day, Forensic Lab issued a report concluding that the mitochondrial DNA profile developed from the male hair on Costilla was profile developed from the defendant's buccal swab. There we go. Once again, 99.9%. That male hair defendant Heuermann cannot be excluded as the contributor. So prior to Ms. Costello's disappearance, defendant Heuermann had been living with a female individual whose identity is known as law enforcement here as the witness. Ooh.
Whoa.
During this course, well, I mean, would that be his first wife?
That would be I would assume that would be his first wife.
Dave, I just had to mute you for a second there. You had some noise in the background.
Peaches.
On or about, yep. So here, on or about March 29th, 2015, the Gilgo Task Force brought a DNA of the DNA of the buccal swab to forensic lab. Holy, this is just unbelievable. And the target residence, I'm just going to skip this a little bit. March 8th, 2024, Gilgo Task Force brought a cutting of hairs on Costilla as well as the DNA witnessed from the buccal swab, developed a nuclear DNA profile of the male hair. So there you go. You have both moms and dads to Rex Heuermann's genotype. And here it is, 4.374 times 10 to the 332nd power that it is somebody other than Rex Heuermann's hair.
So interestingly enough, he was killing when he was married to his first wife. If we want to go back to Issa and go back to the wives issue.
Yes.
His first wife left him, and so because these hairs were found there, does that mean the first wife was also involved in the killings or also knew? I mean, I just want to temper everybody's expectations of Asa, but first wife left him, then he finds somebody who's weaker, somebody who is, again, unlawful. People had said like disregarding or some knowing or not saying anything like, something like that. I'm not a psychologist, but obviously I think it's interesting.
Dave, I unmuted you there for a second. You got really loud in the background. I know you're very busy there. So what do you think about that DNA, those DNA hits on the hairs?
It's great.
Dave.
It's damning evidence. Now, the next question, what you see is all this evidence that's being put out there. You're talking about there is no possible way it could not be him. And
exactly.
that's a grand slam as far as the investigator is concerned. But you and I have seen this before, and you've seen it in the prior cases where you're going to challenge the recovery of these DNA items, such as the hairs.
All I could say is good luck with the challenge.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Look,
good luck.
I'm highlighting the answers here, right? So the Sandra Costilla's says 4,347 with 329 zeros, and for Jessica Taylor, it's they add an extra 1,037 zeros on the chances of being someone other than Rex.
Jeez.
Yeah.
And look, they put a nice chart. Look at this chart.
Oh my God.
Yeah, look at Maureen Brainerd Barnes, 7.9 trillion.
And what you're looking at also is the marshaling of evidence. You're showing exactly where this property, where the hairs and samples were recovered from, which is really good. I mean, it breaks it down for the jury a lot better, and for the investigators at large, just to see everything just fall into place. Where what are you going to say to this? This is damning. This is damning evidence to putting the defendant, and I don't like using his name, the defendant at these presence of these bodies.
Can I ask a question, guys? Why would they not include the witness's real name, knowing how important the case is?
The only reason I can think of is to protect her, that it's somebody other than Asa. And, we can speculate all day long, I guess, and say it was his first wife. I don't know if they were still married at the time, but I guess it could be somebody else. And I guess they don't want to put that person where the media is knocking down their doors and they don't want to hear something. And I think that's the only reason why. So unfortunately, we don't know exactly who it is. But here's some other stuff. Here's the location stuff. So they talk about this surgical drape. And when you look at the numbers are actually higher for Sandra Castillo than some of the other victims. Yeah. As being someone else. I mean, listen, at this point, Michael Brown is going to have a help wanted sign in front of his place to try to find other people to help him go through this stuff, because this is absolutely insane.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it's great for the case. I mean, you're really putting this person at the scene of every one of the bodies, and that's what you want. That's what you want in these cases. And I go back to this all the time. It is the devil's in the details. And you've seen investigations. You have to take every investigation thoroughly, do it thoroughly, and do it with care. And I think what you're seeing here is what the investigators did in 1993, how detail-oriented they were. Because, I mean, you didn't put 87 is when they started utilizing DNA as possible usage for future crimes.
Just typing. Yeah, just for like blood typing and stuff, not to be able to do what they're doing today.
Yeah, and that's something.
And look what I just highlighted. Josh, here it is, right? Yeah. So the defendant, Heuermann, began living together at the target residence in 1991. In September 1993, approximately 2 months before Mr. Costello's disappearance and murder, witness 3 moved out of the target residence. And they have already said in this affidavit that the target residence was in Massapequa Park. So he was living with another person before Asa. I'm assuming that's what this is. Maybe it isn't his first wife either.
Right. Yeah. Well, it first of all, that person is still alive, right? Because they're a witness. Yep. So, it's not Peaches.
So it's not his first wife either.
It's not his first wife either. Oh, interesting.
Based on the foregoing, neither Heuermann's mother nor witness 3 were living at the target residence during the time of Sandra Castillo's murder. Accordingly, the murders of all 4 charged victims, and now the murders of Miss Taylor and Miss Castillo, occurred at times when the defendant Heuermann would have unfettered time to execute his plans for each victim without any fear of his family or other residing at the target residence would uncover or learn from his involvement of these crimes. Newly discovered digital evidence. As detailed in Exhibit A, the following Heuermann arrests, numerous search warrants were executed at the target residence, which culminated in, I'm going to leave that one out, the seizure of 350 electronic devices. Okay, 350, not 422. In the months subsequent to Heuermann's arrest, the Gilgo Task Force has attempted to extract and analyze data from each of these devices. As analysis of these devices have revealed significant collection of violent bondage, torture, pornography, currently dating back to 1994. The pornographic images accessed by Heuermann include, but are not limited to, you guys can just read that on your own.
Yep.
There's the decapitation,
bondage,
whipping, which notably, largely coincide how the remains of Sandra Castillo, Jessica Taylor, and Valerie Mack were discovered. Okay, so they're mentioning Valerie Mack now into this, and I believe if we could foreshadow, Josh,
yep.
And Dave, I think that's the next one that comes down here, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
So the hard drive question.
Sure.
Do you believe that Valerie Mack and more defendants will be included onto the indictment before the trial starts?
Yes, I do. And I think it's just going to be one of those things where they're going to start. I don't know about starting for the trial start. Sorry, I misspoke. I think the trial starts without it. This stuff comes out afterwards because apparently they either didn't have these hair follicles or other forensic evidence. They might just have the electronic evidence, which then leads into a whole other area. And right. I think that at the end, if he gets convicted, they just add him onto it and say, listen, if you ever get out, we're going to also charge you with these murders too. And that's
Right.
that's
So
that's how this goes.
So you believe that they have other more circumstantial evidence to link him to the others, but they don't have this hardcore forensic CSI quote evidence, and therefore they're not going to introduce that.
Yes, that's my thinking as I'm reading this.
Right.
As I'm reading this.
By the way, a lot of people are like, James Burke, you know, the whole Burke thing, dead in the water, all this other stuff, dead in the water. I mean, this additional forensic evidence is killer. Oof. Right?
Yes. And we're only on page 21.
So keep going. I'm sorry.
That's okay. So yeah, it's 10:20 right now, and if you're just joining us, we have there's almost 1,000 people in this room. Please, we have Josh Zeman, killer, the producer and director of The Killing Season. We have Dave Sarney, who is a retired NYPD detective. Guys, please remember to like and subscribe and share. That really helps me out a lot. I appreciate that. I haven't been watching the room per se because I'm reading this indictment. So if anything I missed, any questions I missed, sorry. Yeah, if there's anything good questions, let me know, Josh, and we can.
Sandra was not dismembered, by the way. Sandra was not dismembered.
Okay. Yeah. And Dave, if you got anything, you just interrupt too, because
think about this. They find all this video. Now, did he ever share? We're going to look at did he ever share videos of the victims he was involved with? And that's another thing you're looking to look toward. I mean, a lot of times you're dealing with this type of BDSM type of people who are into the fetish and the extreme fetishes. Was this ever shared to anyone outside of the house? Obviously, because they like these birds of a feather kind of fly together in a sense.
Yeah. And
is there something we could look at to maybe he shows and disseminates that material to other people, to websites, especially in 94, 95, you may not, but later on, yeah. And just
and this might answer your question, Dave, because it says here the task force found a Microsoft Word document, which is an unusual way to keep a record of things, entitled HK 2002 to 2004, I'm assuming. The document was discovered in an unallocated space. Allocated space refers to stored data on a computer is using files that are viewable. On the other hand, unallocated space refers to an available or unstructured data, which is not readily viewable. So he's trying to hide something. That's basically, this is digital speak for he's hiding this kind of thing. The item was sent to a recycle bin overwritten. For example, when a user tries to delete the file, the deleted data will remain unallocated. Okay, so a forensic analysis of this document reveals that it was not only a locally created draft, not downloaded from the internet, but also recovered from a hard drive that indicates it was utilized by Heuermann himself. While the original document appears to have been created in 2000, based on the original title, this iteration of the Word document appears to have been created and modified between 2001 and 2002, based on the foregoing facts of the case here. So the task force members believe that 2000 or 2002 be referenced by calendar years. I would agree with that, right, guys? We would go with that one. The task force members who believe, based on the foregoing, that the facts on the Microsoft Word document be planning documents.
You're kidding me. You put sections, problems, supplies.
Look at this.
I remember listening to
what?
Holy guys, look at this.
Fucking kidding me?
Wow.
He even has Megan's name on this.
What?
He's got Megan's name on this.
Yeah. There was something I remember watching an interview when they did that interview with the real estate agent, and I watched the real estate agent say he was extremely detail oriented. And this is exactly as detailed as you're going to get to put all, foam drain cleaner, body wipes, tarps. He's already, listing all the things you're looking at that he's involved in. What to get with problems, DNA. He already knew about it back then. Booties. So he knew about Tyvek suits. He's knowing about police stuff. Truck stuck. About dealing with his truck. If it gets stuck, what do you do? Fingerprints. Plastic bags match to box. He's already thinking how plastic bags match to a box. So this is a detailed.
Hold on a second. Dave, stop right there. Did you hear what you just said? Plastic bags and the box. Who else was found with plastic bags in a box? Well, the container. Peaches.
Plastic bag. What's matched to box? Like use the right type of bags that fit in the right type of box?
Or you
Either
could
that or
actually
go ahead,
detail a
Dave.
box from, you could maybe detail a box, you can find out who manufactures that product, like the Glad garbage bag. So
Yeah.
you can match it to a box. So if that
Right.
box is in your residence, they could similarly match that as part of circumstantial evidence to it. But this is
Holy Jesus. Photo
he
film?
thought
Photo film?
saw, yeah.
Sorry.
So that means there's photos around, saw
Cat
cutting
litter?
tools.
Cat litter to
litter,
absorb
To
any
absorb
body
blood.
fluids.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Trace
Next time-
source of supplies.
Next time, recon dumpster locations. What's DS1?
Drop
I don't
site,
know,
maybe?
DS1 Mill
Drop
Road.
site 1 Mill Road. Where's Mill Road
Could
again?
be
Which one was Mill
dumpster
Road?
site, maybe. That's if you look at DS,
Dumpster
might be
site.
DS mean dumpster site or drop
Yep.
site.
Drop site.
Next
Right.
time, recon dumpster locations.
Wait, what's
Wow.
Mill Road again?
I don't know. See if I can. Hang on
No,
a second.
no. It's in Manorville. No, wait a second.
This is insane.
I just looked at Mill Road like 2 days ago for something. Mill
This
Road.
is police scanner.
Okay, I just Google it, so there's lots of Mill Roads, but there's a
No,
Mill
no,
Road
no,
in
no.
Manorville.
Yeah, it's in.
Maybe he was looking for the
And-
dumpster site was Mill Road, and the second
Okay,
one
hang
was
on.
somewhere he wasn't sure.
All right, let me. You want me to pull up the map and get off of this one?
No. It's. But it was just something. I don't know. There was some Mill Road we were just looking at.
Okay, now and then now we know, Josh. As I'm looking at the map,
Yeah.
I know why Mill Road is significant in the search.
Why?
Because it drives right through the Pine Barrens.
Oh, okay. Oh, right.
So we know that this. So Mill Road starts in Manorville and ends in. Guess where, Josh? Guess where Mill Road ends?
Calverton Shooting Range.
Damn straight, Calverton. So, holy smoly!
Wow,
So Calverton
is-
shooting range. Yeah, guys, this is insane.
that's nuts.
And
But
listen,
Thought
so
it, I mean,
go ahead. I'm sorry, Dave.
thorough. This is as thorough. This is, like I said, this is why it's detectives do what they do, and you need that nothing is hidden. You just have to really have the effort and search for it. I mean, that's the thing. This wasn't hidden. This is not like it was not there. That's why it took so long to get this process through. You really have to, when that focal point was going after the Gilgo Beach killer, and you got a person of interest, you can see the amount of work put in by everybody involved. And if you're the lead investigator and you're involved as a prosecutor, you're like, this is fantastic evidence. Nothing
Yeah, well,
disappears.
and I think that if Attorney Michael Brown was trying to get that this wasn't premeditated, I think he can he can find another avenue after listening. Well, he wanted hairnets, but apparently that didn't work.
Yeah. But by the way, for being so meticulous, he still left hairs everywhere.
Yeah, and you know what? Remember the search just recently? They were pulling out cords and ropes, and here it is, ropes and cords. Josh, just like we've said on Saturday, there's no such thing as coincidences. When you were looking at the exact searches and then they would see what was going on, right, Dave? We don't believe in coincidences when you talk about criminal investigations.
No, these are things that we do. This is a thorough job.
Oh,
and
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you uncover this. I mean, this is damning evidence, and it's great work. That's what you're looking for. How are you able? You think you hide stuff, but we'll find it. One thing about investigators, we'll find it if we put the effort into it, the attitude and effort. We'll find it.
Somebody just said on the comments, noting the foam drain cleaner, drain.
Mm-hmm.
How they took out all the drains. That's why they took out all the drains. They had legitimate reason to take out all the drains.
Yeah.
Oof, man.
This is a listing of all the evidence that might have been located for the search warrant. This is what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Cat litter, plastic bag cat litter. I mean, foot shoe print. Misleaders even too. He put misleaders. What could mislead the investigation?
Yeah.
What problems? Police stop. If the truck is stuck, what do? Fingerprints in gloves. He even remembered that about fingerprints being inside gloves. He was thorough in his attempt to hide what he was doing. The heinous acts that he was doing, the murders he was committing. He was all out and intended to cover these up. And here's your evidence.
Can I ask
Sure.
what is TRG? Someone asked, what is TRG?
It's on this page here.
Yeah. All the way down to the right under Megan. T one
T
Megan.
unknown.
T1 Megan, small is good. T unknown black.
Target.
Yeah, I guess
Target
so.
unknown black. Yeah, target one maybe Megan.
Target one
unknown.
Megan with a question mark.
Yeah, small is good. Yeah. So
And-
T is target.
Josh, can you tell us? Do you remember the date that Megan disappeared? You have that handy? If you could just Google it quick,
Yes, sir.
please. Thank you. So if you're just catching up to us now, we have over 1,000 people watching, which is a personal record for us here on True Crime with the Sarge. Thank you for joining us. We have Josh Zeman and we have Dave Sarney. If you just please remember to like, subscribe. June 2010.
Yeah.
And this was planned in 2002, 2004?
That can't be true.
Unless there's another Megan out there. I don't know. That doesn't match up, right?
Yes, appears to be for dump site.
Yeah, and I'm looking. If you look at 1 Mill Road on Google Maps, talk about a desolate area that kind of looks like Gilgo. There's some houses on the one side, and there is nothing but the Pine Barrens on the right. Now you know why they were searching the Pine Barrens.
Mm-hmm.
And 1 Mill Road comes back to some private homes, but there are also some the Colorful Gardens Wholesale, which is a looks like it's a garden variety type of thing. And there's also a Upper Peconic River fishing access, not too far from where this was on Mill Road. So the only commercial place, there's actually 2 commercial places that would have a dumpster nearby, and that's the Colorful Gardens Wholesale Company and the independent group Home Living. Everything else is a private home. So, I mean, unfortunately, the time is so far away that they would not have any dumpster things. However, Dave and I do know that generally these companies keep very good, meticulous records about where the dump, right, Dave? Where the dumpsters are picked up and where the stuff is put.
Mm-hmm. So, like I said, this is here photo film. Very interesting photo film. So there's cameras, obviously, he's been utilizing. So again, this is and Joe, you probably say this when you look back at people taking trophies, like they take some sort of evidence back from them, a driver's license, a piece of material from the clothing, body part, whatever, they'll keep to themselves. Maybe photos. He was taking photos of these people when they were dead.
Yeah, and I think, Dave, you were right on this one. When we talked about this before, Josh, the plastic bags matched to a box.
Yeah.
He's worried about them getting the exact thing where they bought the boxes from, that exact, because they have a serial number in the box and everything.
Right.
So he was aware of that.
So, yeah. Oh, geez, man. Okay, sorry. Here we go. They break it down for us.
Okay, so he's got problems, supplies. The DS heading appears to be the acronym for dump site.
Yeah.
Okay, the vicinity of Mill Road and Ocean Parkway under that same heading.
Yep.
In a note regarding dumpster sites, which the task force members believe is a reference to human dispose of physical evidence in the manner described, dispose of the following. TRG appears to be the reference for target or victim.
Yeah, target. Yeah.
All right. It's important to note that the known victims thus far, all petite women, which is consistent of the small is good entry in the document, lending further support to the aforementioned conclusion that TRG refers to targets. With the regards to DS section of the document, it's important to note that the human remains of Jessica Taylor, discovered in 2003, as well as the remains of Valerie Mack, discovered in 2000, were dumped in 2 locations. One of the locations being the vicinity of Mill Road, which is listed as DS1 Mill Road in the above Word document. On March 29, 2011, Ms. Taylor's torso and skull were recovered on Ocean Parkway. And the second dump site on April 4th, 2011, Ms. Mack's skull, hands, and right foot were also discovered. So, yeah, Valerie Mack's name again appears as a second time in this thing. I would bet the house that that's coming next. The recent discovery. Sorry, go ahead.
Just a question. Was one of the girls' names, quote unquote, Megan?
The only other Megan I know of is like Megan Waterman.
No. Like back page name.
Oh, like an alias?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway,
every time I mention Backpage, I get yelled at. So
why?
I'm not gonna.
Why did you know that?
Well, because when we talked about, remember when we talked about on Saturday about, I thought shutting down Backpage was a mistake because you could use it as a fishing expedition.
Yeah.
I got pushed back the first time I ever said that years ago. And then of course it came back to me to haunt me again, even though I prefaced it with, I know I'm going to get grief over this because people don't understand criminal investigations. It's a fishing hole, right, Dave? You had a chance to set up a reverse sting where you could put yourself up as the sex worker and make men come to you and then lock them all up and debrief them.
Yeah.
And also sends the message. So if anything, people say, oh, how could you be so cruel and wanted to keep that open? If anything, my way could have maybe saved lives, could have saved women that have been trafficked because you get them out of that life by reducing the demand. That's the whole thing, right? You've reduced the demand, you've reduced the supply, which saves lives in the long run. But there's some people that just can't understand. It's
also controllable. But I remember in the killing season, by the way, that's what we did. We were like, does anybody have any information? Like we were using that to like honeypot them. But anyway, so this is all about Jessica Taylor and Valerie Mack. That whole planning document. It says Megan, but that must be in reference to a alias of somebody, not Megan Waterman, because Megan Waterman was 2010, and this document is from 2002, 2003, right?
Yeah, it says the task force believes that these preparations were either for Jessica Taylor and or Valerie Mack.
Yeah.
So here's another thing here too. So here, the planning document on Heuermann's computer then delivers a 3-category section that heading pre-prep, prep, and post-event.
Wow.
So the post-event, let's take a look at that. Just look at it. Well, destroy file, change tires, right? He's worried about leaving tire tracks.
Jesus.
Burn gloves, dispose of pics, have story set.
Let me tell you, I'm a very big proponent of
this.
always, it's outstanding that he put this
this
all on paper. Build a table.
Build a table with a crossbar. So, guys, I think we can. Yeah, I think we can see what the hell was going on there.
Recon pick zone for vid cams. So we had video cameras also.
Yeah.
Weather reports.
Reconning the area. What the weather was like. If it was bad weather, you could drop the body off because nobody's outside.
So he's inspecting his vehicle, gets looking for, screws in his tires and everything else, engaging the target, conducting a recon, including the pick zone, location where a victim is picked up, and checking the weather. So this might indicate that nothing was done in the house. Is this what we're looking at? Maybe it was all done in the back of his truck. What do you think?
Why?
Possibility.
Why would you say that?
Well, I guess it would depend on where he picked them up, right?
So he'd probably meet a location. You're picking up the well, we'll just call pros because that's what it was. It's still in the law. You pick up your pros at a spot, you take them for another location. And what he did is what he did. He had it all planned, he had it prepared. This is a thorough serial killer.
Josh, when we said on Saturday that okay, I'm sorry.
You might be right. It might be outside of the house, but go ahead, Joe. What were you going to say?
When we talked about that, this guy might end up being one of the most prolific serial killers. Boy, I don't think we were wrong about that.
You're right. The drain cleaner, by the way, does say otherwise, that he did bring them home. I think that's Urban Infidel.
True.
Said that. True. Very true. Plus, also the vault. Another reason for having that vault.
And he's like, may also have a hard point in the field of suspension bondage, so he hung them up.
Yeah, guys, so I apologize. Joe, I have to go.
Okay, Josh, good luck tonight. We hope everything works out great for you.
Thank you,
Dave. Hang on one second. Josh, thank you very much.
Unbelievable. Yeah, I don't know.
Talk to you soon, man. Good luck tonight. Okay, sorry about that, Dave. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, Josh is up for an award for his new film at the Tribeca Film Festival tonight. And he said he was going to try to hang out with us as long as he could. So we're still 20 minutes away from the presser. So let's go through the rest of this, Dave. You have a little bit more time?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm looking at all this. He had photos. He took film of all of this. He went with the preset. Especially if you're dealing with the bondage, I'm going to think these photos were shared somehow, because you're going to be in, he is a really thorough, thought out individual. He knows he had his whole methodology on what he did. And it's amazing to think how thorough he is in this process, how he was so separate in his exterior life as a real estate and a married man, how you can separate the two this way. But the thoroughness of what this guy was into, the deviant sexual behavior, one thing, but the suspension bridge, setting it up. Did he kill them in the house? Which is more likely he did. That's why they went to the house so many times. It's, unfortunately, these are things we see all too often in investigations, that there's always some sort of sexual deviancy to that point. Yet they never, and nothing on his documentation says condoms or anything like that. He just talked about body wipes, but no condoms, nothing like that. So the question is, did he penetrate these individuals? Did he have sex with them? Did he have sex at all? Or he just killed them and tied them up and did what he did?
Well, somebody told me earlier that that the details on this were bad, and like I said, from the cops' point of view, right? Bad could mean so many things, right?
Yeah.
Bad could mean like, and for us, when we think bad, right, we just think like, that this is bad for the case. That's what I was thinking. First of all, something's bad for the case. But now, as I'm reading this, I understand it's bad for the general public to hear this, and it's not for your average person. And that's something that, unfortunately, as former cops, you kind of sanitize to some of this, and you don't really think about it in that aspect, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So the hard point refers to the sexual suspension bondage. I mean, holy cow.
Which meant he probably used it to St. Andrew's Cross. That's why they talk about a cross point. There's a lot of that in the BDSM community. There are people who are involved in it, but don't go to the level that you're seeing right now. And this is a deviant, evil person beyond the pale, beyond the pale.
Hey guys, I think Mike came in and destroyed the whole thing again.
Oh, Mike, did you do that to me again?
Yeah, I did that on purpose, Dave. I had to get in here. I had to butt in. So I gave Josh the respect. I waited for Josh to leave, and then bam, I put Dave on by himself.
And then it went, what am I? I'm like, why am I going? I'm not sure if I'm still alone here, but this is.
Okay, Mr. Wrench.
Dave, you know what this reminds me of? This is a tack plan. Heuermann had a kill tack plan.
Yeah,
I mean, he listed everything. This guy is like, what's that show? What's that guy's name with the show?
Well, you're talking American Psycho. You're talking about a guy.
No, Dexter. This guy is Dexter.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you're talking about what he was doing, and change the tires. Who even thinks of that? He was going to change. He changed the tires, knowing tire tracks. So he's
burn gloves,
every process out.
Dispose of pics. Look at this. Dispose of pics. Have a story.
Package your bike for transport. Body prep. Vid cams.
Hey, look at this. Go ahead, Mike. What were you going to say? I'm sorry.
I was going to say, I think this shows his preparation. It shows that absolutely his MO could have changed over the years. He got, I hate to say it, but he got better at it. He got better at hiding the bodies.
He became perfected. He perfected his craft. This is a guy perfecting his craft.
He's even keeping track of the time that he spent in the area too long. Remember, don't charge gas.
Yeah, he might even know the response time of police, he might have that down also.
He has a scanner. He talked about having a police scanner.
Yeah.
So he's thinking so beyond just the act itself, but the cover up too.
Oh, guys, look at this.
Anything that touched target one, what you wore, destroyed
Body prep.
computer
Wash.
files.
Look at this. Wash body inside in all cavities.
Okay, so
Remove
then
trace evidence, fingerprints and hair. Remove trace DNA. Remove ID marks, tattoos,
Wow.
marks. Which
My
brings
God.
us back to listen. We know that Jessica Taylor had a tattoo that was almost removed from all that.
remove head and
Remove
hands.
head
which
and
you see.
hands. Package for transport.
Mhm.
Dispose of the
everything-
following: toys, wood items,
dispose of box of plastic bags to avoid trace. Going back to what he had.
look at this. Destroy book and computer file. He kept the notebook. He kept the journal.
That's because one of the
Maybe he had like a detective pad. You know how we carry pads just so he remembers stuff.
Yeah, for each victim, another separate notebook for each victim.
Perhaps, yeah. Drop clothes.
I
My God. Wipes and towels. This guy. No wonder he lasted over 10 years. Well, now probably 30 years.
Yeah. He knew
I
what
just
he was
want
doing.
to give a shout out to Bella Moon for that super sticker. Thank you very much. And Cakes Poo. This is the stuff what nightmares are made of. Thank you for that. That super sticker. I appreciate it. I'm sorry I haven't been responsive, but I've just been looking into all these different things. It's just absolute horrific stuff that's been talked about on this thing. Let's just take a look at some of this. So body prep sections include remove heads and hands. So we got 13 minutes, guys, to the presser. So we're gonna keep an eye out for me on the time, just in case. About 2 minutes before, we're gonna switch over to the Instagram page.
I gotta leave in 3 minutes. I'm doing News 12 Long Island.
Okay, so you know what? Good, Mike. You know what? We're gonna bounce you now, and then
Okay.
if you want to come back, if you're done early, come back in.
I will.
Okay. This way you get ready.
Yeah. Dispose of the following.
So guys, yep. So for those, we got about 9. And we're into this because the thing is, like, so many things going on that things are going to crash.
Wow.
All right. So let's get into this. Dispose of the following.
Playtime.
Okay. Here we go. Things to remember.
Sound travels. Get sleep. Too tired creates problems because he's not focused. More sleep and noise control, more playtime. So if you have more sleep and noise control, you have more playtime with the victims. Push pins to hang drop clothes from ceiling, not tape. Use heavy rope for neck light. For neck,
well,
light
there you
rope
go.
broke under stress.
So here we go. And then once again, they were pulling the ropes apart from the house, and they were doing the paint chips from the house. And then now is saying why they removed the paneling from the house, right? So the photos or the videos that he thought he destroyed, I'm assuming they got them.
Yeah. He was
more sleep and noise control, more playtime.
And that's his torture.
Unbelievable. Alton Farad sending love to the victims' families. Thank you very much for that super. And new member Molly Thompson, thank you for joining the channel. Sorry, guys, I haven't been that attentive to the chat room, but I think you can understand why I'm trying to get all this information in before the presser starts. But so Dave, I guess this happened inside the home.
Yeah, hit harder. Too many hits to take down. So he started figuring out what he's going to do. Consider a hit to the face or neck next time for a takedown. He's a man. He's a big man. That petite, going back to that, punching him in the face with those hands, with those mitts that defendant had. He knew exactly. He planned this, and obviously, each attempt or each body, he tried to perfect it to get the perfect murder and the perfect cover up of the crime.
Yep, and he's talking about not using tape to secure the drop cloths from the ceiling. I guess he's worried about spatter and everything else that comes along with it.
Yep.
And he goes, all right, so here, take down, pick up, hunt too long, seen in the area too long. Remember, don't charge for gas. And then he says, recon for video cams in pickup area next time. So that means he's already done it once and then realized that there were cameras in and around that area after the fact, and that he's got to watch what's going on there. So he's looking for that controlled environment. Yeah, we talked about that. I'm going to skip through some of these things and look for some of the aspects of this. And if you guys are in the chat room now, just make sure that you can, everything's seen and hearing us pretty good.
Look, the more you do, the more clues you give.
Look at the painting. Why, what, why, who? Organized versus disorganized. So he's doing research. He's doing research on why this is happening. You got to run, Dave?
Yeah, I'm going to run for a little bit. I'll be back in a little bit. Thank you. I'll see you in a
Yep. Okay. So I'm going to do this solo, guys. So here's some other little interesting tidbit. He's reading Mindhunter by John Douglas, and he's researching organized versus disorganized serial killers. So this guy is labeling himself a serial killer. It's absolutely insane about what he's exactly doing over here. So here, the HK planning document also includes the following: PG 162, sex substitution, page 163. Page 162, I guess, is the Mindhunter book, does indeed reference the sexual substitution, the object, as Douglas describes the rather horrible mutilation over the victim's body, but no intercourse. That's interesting. Douglas opines in the perpetrator of such a crime that sex substitution with disorganized killer would be compulsive and rather living with his parents. Accordingly, this notion contained the HK planning document is consistent with the aforementioned book. So, wow. Folks, if we never thought that the serial killers for sure are reading and or researching, this is absolutely insane. So I just saw that, yes, watching John Douglas was just at crime scene. So the book continues about different disorganized personality types. Wow, folks. When I said, so he's, Stockholm Syndrome. You guys know what Stockholm Syndrome is? Stockholm Syndrome is when you have somebody as a hostage, and after a short period of time, they actually start to like you and they actually start to protect you. So, folks, to me, that is just something that we need to be aware of. Yes, Instagram, Sarah, thank you. I'm going to be doing that in a couple of minutes. But this is another important aspect. Stockholm Syndrome, he might have held these women captive for a number of days, hoping that they would actually see him as their friend and be able to do this. And that's something, holy cow. All right, I'm just going to look at a couple more pages, and then we're going to head over to what he called. So he's also reading The Cases That Haunt Us by John Douglas. So let's just see. All right, we covered all that stuff, and that was it. So let me switch over. Okay, guys, I'm sorry about that big mug that shows up in your face there. Yeah, holding them captive, say no. I mean, that's unfortunately what we're actually heading to in this respect. I'm going to bring up the Instagram page. I have it already set up, folks. Just hang on one second. You guys can see that. This is the Instagram page. Now, what we have to look for is on the Instagram page itself. Is when he goes live that we have to then refresh the page. So somebody needs to remind me of that, because this is why Instagram is a pain in the butt when it comes to this stuff. Is anybody following it on Instagram now? If they have Instagram, if you could just go on your page too and give me the heads up if he goes live with this, because I'm going to need to refresh the page. And so I'm going to refresh it now anyway. Just to make sure. Did you guys see the page go? So as we're waiting for this, this reminds me of the torturing. Yeah, Carbon, this is absolutely crazy. Welcome, urban infidel. So these documents are Rick's kill checklist. Yeah, this is the document apparently he's been using to plan his events. And listen, it is absolutely a possibility that Valerie Mack will be named sometime in the near future too. Her name was mentioned at least 2 times within that affidavit. And if you look at any of the human remains cases that you have on Long Island that are still open, guys, they're gonna have to. They're looking into every one of these things because he talks about this. Remember, this is early into his killing spree, so to speak. Right? We're talking about this. This document was created in 2000. Sandra Castillo was not dismembered, which is interesting. But Valerie Mack, Peaches, Jessica Taylor, all. And there are a couple of other cases out there too. Madonna, I don't think he will plead guilty. The only thing I can hope for, and the only thing we can hope for, is if they get him on the 6 cases, if they convict him on those, because it looks like all 6 of those cases are going to go in at once, that they just say, all right, and we have these other cases. Just, we won't add anything, or we won't do nothing, just confess to it. And, and move on. Sleuth, thank you for member for 4 months, going back to 93, 94 per tax records. Rec purchased a family home for $170,000 in 1994. I believe after that he met Asa. And the other interesting thing of that, Sleuths, is that they name another person that doesn't appear to be Asa, and it's not his first wife. There's another woman or another person living with him during the time of Sandra Castillo's murder in 1993. They specifically talk about that. I would think at this point Rex would want to take credit for all his murders, so maybe he will confess. Rachel, that's for a normal person. I think that would be the way to go. But this guy is far from normal. So, I mean, we take a look at some of these things where, we were just talking about Richard Cottingham the other night. And Richard Cottingham is still talking about cases from 40 years ago. So I don't think that it's going to be there. Yes, Karen, he should confess. I wish he would, but I don't think he is. Something's going on Instagram. Okay, let me refresh it, folks. Nope, not yet. Let me refresh the Instagram page. I wish he was just doing it on a regular TV show, for crying out loud. So I forgot to follow it too. So now I'm following it. Hopefully we get that. Somebody just make sure if you're watching the page as I'm talking with you guys that if something pops up on the messages or the notifications. This channel keeps disappearing from my subscriptions. Had to unsubscribe and subscribe. I don't know, Jersey girl. I don't know what's going on with that. But you found us again. You know how to find us. Can you imagine what his neighbors are going through? Yeah, well, listen. For crying out loud, left you, Joe. I try to keep all this stuff going on, guys, for this whole thing. But technologically not advanced. I've been trying to do this. So we still have nearly 900 people in the room watching, waiting for this presser to come out. I know there's other great shows out there. And so thank you for spending your time with me. And hopefully that we will be able to get this thing up and running. I'm going to refresh the page now. It's almost 11 o'clock. And of course, Mr. Tierney is not talking yet. So we're going to keep a double eye on this. So Christy says the poor woman in the window. Yeah, that's Karen Vagata. Now, Karen Vagata was 1994, if I believe correctly, which now puts her possibility squarely in the sights of Rex. There's no question about it, right? Because Sandra Castillo is now the first one. We're talking 1993, 94. Boy, oh boy, it opens up to dozens, if not 100 different cases on Long Island and in New York City. Remember, we talked about Andre Isaacs. Andre Isaacs, if you remember when Raul and I did the show on there, his remains were found in East Moriches, which is a lot closer to the Hamptons than Gilgo is for sure. So I'm going to refresh the page now for Mr. Tierney. Not yet. I just wish that they would just do it on regular TV and not do it on this. He's on? All right, guys, hold on. Let me try again. This is frustrating. Is he on a specific TV page or he's just on Newsday is live? Okay, let's try that. Bear with me, folks. Keep an eye on the Instagram page too. Not seeing it on Newsday either. Damn. Any other avenues? I'm still in disbelief how many there might be murder. Yeah, it's craziness. I'm not seeing anything live on Newsday. Let's see. I'm trying to find another avenue here, guys. Bear with me. I'm sorry. It says live. That mug. Nothing yet. Anybody catching anything else? Anybody watching this live? NBC Channel 8. I'm going to try News 12 Long Island. Okay, I might have something on News 12. Let's see. Just came up on Insta. All right, I'll try again. Nothing yet on that. Let's see. I'm waiting on to see if News 12 comes through with something. Now they're doing. They're still talking Pride Parade. It's live now. On Jennifer, on Instagram? I didn't get any notification. Okay, we got it. Hang on.
Identify her. Her torso was found in Manorville after that 9-day search in April that we reported. Investigation. He told reporters on Thursday that, you will see a fruit of that investigation. And we later learned about a bombshell in the investigation, and he will also touch on that momentarily. Heuermann previously pleaded guilty to killing 4 women: Megan Waterman, Melissa Barthelemy, Amberlynn Costello, and Maureen Brainard Barnes, whose remains were found on Gilgo Beach in 2010 and 2011. Their bodies were found nude and bound. Again, we are waiting for the DA to approach the podium to get the latest on the investigation. If you're just joining us right now, alleged Gilgo Beach serial killer Rex Heuermann was charged with additional murders, the murders of 2 women, Jessica Taylor and Sandra Castilla, who was murdered in 1993. Taylor, her death occurred in 2003. I'm told that Tyranny is now making his way to the podium, and we will listen in momentarily.
You guys can hear this good?
We do see a couple of familiar faces there, and it looks like he is approaching the podium. So I'm going to...
Can you guys hear this okay?
I'm told that family members are also entering the space as well.
Thank you. So,
We just actually heard from the attorney earlier today that is the attorney for a number of the victims. He, in fact, reacting to the new charges. That's John Ray, the attorney for many of the victims.
Oh, boy.
You've seen his face.
There's the
Very
DA.
familiar, as he has been working with the families.
Good morning.
Let's take this press
Thanks
conference for
everyone
you
for
now.
coming
Ray Tierney is at
and
the
dealing
building.
with our logistical issues in the rain. We appreciate it. We're here today to announce additional charges in the case against the defendant Rex Heuermann. Obviously, at the onset, I will say these are just allegations. The indictment has just been filed. This is a case, court proceeding, and each and every one of these allegations have got to be proven in court, and we certainly look forward to doing just that. Today, as you've just seen, the District Attorney's Office filed a superseding indictment charging the defendant with 2 additional murders. Those charges pertain to the 1993 murder of Sandra Castilla and the 2003 murder of Jessica Taylor. So that's in addition to the previously charged murders of Maureen Brainard Barnes, Melissa Barthelemy, Megan Waterman, and Amber Costello, which occurred in 1997, 1999, June of 2010, and September of 2010, respectively. So my intention now here today is to discuss those charges, discuss the contents of the bail letter, and then turn it all over to you all for questions. But before I do that, before I discuss the indictment and the developments in the case, I want to thank our law enforcement partners, many of whom are here today. First and foremost, I want to thank the Suffolk County Police Department. My understanding is Commissioner Waring was unavailable today. I spoke with Rob.
Where is this guy?
But he certainly brought a contingent of Suffolk County PD to represent his office. We have Deputy Police Commissioner Kevin Catalina. We have Chief of Detectives Daryl Simmons. We have Deputy Chief Stan Grodzki. And then we have the Commanding Officer of the Major Crimes Unit, which includes the Homicide Unit, Sean Barron. So we want to thank all of them for their partnership. We want to thank the Homicide Unit for their continued efforts in this case. We have the Suffolk County Sheriff's Office here. Again, spoke with Sheriff Toulon. He's traveling out of state, so he couldn't make it. But it's my understanding that Under Sheriffs Steve Kios and Keith Taylor are here. We certainly want to thank them for their assistance as well. With the New York State Police, we have Major Stephen Udis, as well as Lieutenant Ken Gine. Again, we thank them not only for their presence here today, but more importantly, for their partnership in this case. We have the FBI, Supervising Special Agent Don Ansbacher is here. I want to thank the FBI for their continued assistance in this case. And then I don't believe they're present, but we have we want to thank the United States Secret Service for their assistance in this case. We want to thank the Suffolk County Crime Lab. I know they're not here, but their work has been tireless and instrumental. And we are really very appreciative to
When you
them.
hear Secret Service, you're talking
Especially wanna
about
thank
cell
the
phone
K9
records.
units from the New York State Police, from the Suffolk County Police, and from the NYPD, who came out a couple of weeks ago. And in very difficult conditions, they really did a fabulous job helping us to search an area of interest to us. And, they went above and beyond. So again, I want to thank them. I frequently neglect to thank my own team, so I'm going to take the opportunity to thank them. We have, Chief Zacharis. We have, I want to thank them. I want to thank our ADAs, many of whom are working on this case. You heard from Nick Santamartino. We've got Larry Opizzo. We got Andrew Lee. We got Michelle Haddad. We've got a whole host of ADAs that have really been instrumental in us. Our investigators, our analysts, really fantastic work that they've done. I want to thank the victims' families, many of whom are here today, not only on the new charges, but for the original Gilgo 4. And this is what this case is about. We don't ever forget that. This case is about the victims and their families, and hopefully providing them with that small measure of closure. And the families have been nothing short of incredible. The way that they continue to support their loved ones and each other is really inspiring to us and really helps us to keep coming in and working this case as aggressively as we've been doing. This case is a true collaboration. Again, mentioning all of those partners, without the contribution of any one of those partners, our ability to do this case would have been severely compromised. So again, I know I mentioned a lot of names. I know I went through a lot of agencies, but I just don't do that because it's the polite thing to do. I do it because it's the right thing to do, because they've really helped us instrumentally and will continue to help us going forward. Now, I'll just, before I get into the individual murders, the two new charges, what I want to talk about is at the time of the initial arraignment of three out of the four Gilgo 4, and then at the superseding arraignment on the charges pertaining to Maureen Brainerd Barnes, and the Gilgo 4 was completed. At that time, we said that we were going to continue to investigate this case, that the grand jury with regard to the Gilgo 4 is over, but the case continues. The criminal prosecution continues, but the investigation continues, and that investigation has been expanded. The investigation has been expanded both to the bodies that were found on Gilgo and beyond. That's what we said. And I think that has come to fruition today with these two new cases or new charges. First off, with regard to Jessica Taylor, that her body was recovered on July 26 in 2003 off of just west of Halsey Manor Road in Manorville. She was found on her back. She was decapitated, and her hands and arms were severed just below the elbows. Notably, her a tattoo that she had been obliterated with a sharp object. 8 years later, her arms and skull were found on Ocean Parkway. Those remains were found on the same side of the road on the Ocean Parkway as the Gilgo Four. They were found less than a mile away from the remains of the Gilgo Four, and all of the 5 remains were located within 50 feet of the roadway. And I think you see that the graphic on page 5 of our bail document illustrates that. Jessica Taylor was last seen on July 19th in New York City. She was working as a sex worker. We know from from our investigation, from a number of financial records and other records, that the defendant, Rex Heuermann, was in New York City on July 19th. Jessica Taylor last spoke to her mom on July 21st. And then that was about 8:41 p.m. Then less than 2 hours later, her phone call made its last outgoing call. And we heard no more from Jessica or from her phone. The family alerted law enforcement on July 25th when she failed to return to her home for her mom's birthday. And then shortly thereafter, on July 26th, Jessica's body was recovered. At that time, the Suffolk County PD did canvass, and they spoke to witnesses, and the witnesses had observed the night before, about 13 hours prior to the 911 call, they saw a dark-colored pickup truck backed up in the vicinity of off of Halsey Manor Road, where Jessica's body was eventually recovered. Computer activity by the defendant, which we were able to access through our search warrants, indicated that 2 days later, on July 28th, he accessed a Newsday article with regard to information on the case and with regard to the police looking for information on the case. That search was erased, but we were able to recover it. 1 day later, on July 29th, notably, the defendant was seeking to purchase a new Chevy Avalanche truck, notwithstanding the fact that he already had a dark-colored Chevy Avalanche truck, which was only approximately 4 months old at the time. The Chevy Avalanche truck, which we've been discussing all along, is dark-colored. His internet search related to the acquisition of the same Chevy Avalanche truck, but this time in white or bright blue, bright colored truck, completely different from the dark colored truck that he'd been riding in. And again, once again, that purchase with regard to the new trucks that was attempted to be obliterated. We spoke, and Nick Santamartino did the bail application, so I don't want to repeat all that Nick said, but with regard to the hairs found in this case, Jessica Taylor was found laying atop a surgical drape. A male hair was found between the body and the drape. That was recovered back in 2003. In 2023, we brought that hair was brought to the mitochondrial testing lab for mitochondrial DNA analysis, and was able to the results of that was able to exclude 99.96% of the population, but not the Rex Heuermann, the defendant. Then again, later in 2024, we brought to a second lab for nuclear DNA testing. And once again, the result was the defendant could not be excluded as the donor of that hair, and it's 1.837 times 10 to the 603rd power more likely that it came to that it matched the defendant or someone matching the defendant's DNA profile than a member of the population at large. And that number, just so it's 1.837 times 10 to the 603rd power. So what you do is you take that 1.837 and you move that decimal point over 63 places and add zeros. That's the number. That number doesn't exist. It's so big. Among other things that we were able to establish with regard to the murder of Jessica Taylor was, once again, family travel. we were able to determine that at the time of the disappearance and death of Jessica Taylor, once again, the defendant's family was out of the state. They were staying at
we knew
a
that, right?
resort known as Smuggler's Notch in Vermont. We were able to corroborate that information through witness statements, photos, and phone and financial records.
Yeah, so they got the credit cards for that.
A hard drive that backed up to a Palm Pilot, which was the defendant's date book. And in that, and again, this is chronicled in the bail application, but in that date book, it's indicated that his wife is in Virginia at Smugs from July 20th through July 27th, and that's page 14 of the bail document. With regard to the 1993 discovery of Sandra Castilla, again, on November 20th, 1993, two individuals while hunting in that wooded area of Southampton in the vicinity of Old Fish Cove Road in North Sea discovered her body. She was lying on her back with her arms outstretched over her head. Her legs were uncovered and her shirt was pressed over her head.
Unreal.
The victim suffered numerous sharp force injuries, 25 in all, which we believe were post-mortem. And these were injuries to her face, torso, breasts, left thigh, and in her vaginal area. Once again, we have hairs recovered from Sandra Castilla. This is chronicled in the bail application. There were two hairs from Sandra Castilla's remains that are of particular significance in this case. One was a female hair that was recovered from the victim's right arm, and one was a male hair that was recovered from a tape lip of one of the shirts that the victim was wearing that was pushed above her head. In 2014, about 10 years ago, the two hairs plus another female hair, which were found on Castilla, were sent to an outside mitochondrial DNA lab for testing. And at that time, John Bitroff was excluded as the donor of those three hairs. Those once the task force began investigating Gilgo and related cases, those hairs were retested in 2023 and 2024 and compared with the defendant's known sample from the buccal swab that we obtained. Regarding that male hair, the mitochondrial DNA profile developed from that male hair on the victim Castilla and the profile developed from the defendant's buccal swab are match, and specifically at a rate that would exclude 99.96% of the North American population, and defendant Heuermann therefore cannot be excluded as the contributor of that male hair on Castilla. In March of 2024, that same male hair or extract therefrom was brought to the same outside lab for nuclear DNA testing. And once again, the results came back and which found it was 4.347 times 10 to the 332 power more likely to have come from a person genetically identical to Rex Heuermann than from an unrelated individual. So that's 4.347, and then you move that decimal point over 332 times to get the odds. Again, an astronomically large number.
Yes,
regarding
it is.
the female hair, prior to with regard to hair, one of the female hairs that was recovered on Ms. Castilla prior to Ms. Castilla's disappearance, the defendant had been living with a female individual at his home in Massapequa Park. The female individual lived with the defendant at his current through the summer and vacated the premises approximately 2 months or so prior to Ms. Castilla's death in 1993. Once we got those two female hairs, once we knew of those two female hairs' existence, we went out and obtained a DNA profile, a buccal swab from this female. And that DNA profile that we obtained from the female buccal swab, we sent it to the mitochondrial testing lab, And again, it was able to exclude 99.98% of the North American population as the contributor of said hair, but it could not exclude the female who was living with Rex Heuermann. Again,
so it's not his wife.
We brought that same DNA and extract to the nuclear DNA testing, and the female's hair was tested and compared with the female hair that was recovered on the victim Castillo, and it was found to be 4.578 times 10 to the 1040th power more likely have come from a person genetically identical to the female witness who was living with Rex Heuermann in 1993, shortly before Ms. Castillo's death, than from an unrelated individual. Again, that's 4.578, and you move that decimal point over 1,040 places, and that's the number.
I hope they don't try to ID
there
this
was an
woman.
additional female hair that was recovered in 2014. That was recovered. That was compared to both the female living with Mr. Heuermann and the defendant, and we could not get a match on that, and that remains unidentified, that female hair. So we have those DNA results, and again, we were able to establish, similar to all the other cases, that at or around the time of Ms. Castillo's disappearance and murder, Rex Heuermann was living alone at the house in Massapequa Park and had unfettered access to the house, and no one else was living with him at the time. So now I want to discuss some of the newly discovered digital evidence in the case. Before I discuss that, I just wanted to clarify some of the things that we've been talking about in our earlier press conferences. You were asked I was asked specifically about smart devices and digital devices that were recovered from the home and business of the defendant in connection with this case. So I just want to catalog that for you so you get a sort of flavor of what it was. We've recovered 15 different types of cameras. We've recovered 27 computers. We've recovered 58 internal hard drives. We recovered 22 external hard drives or solid drives. We recovered 46 cell phones. We recovered 9 Wi-Fi routers, 44 SD micro cards, which are like jump routers, 17 tablets, 42 USB devices, 8 laptops, 50 hotel cards, 4 GPS devices, 11 music devices, 36 SIM cards, 33 miscellaneous items, and 647 CD, floppy disks, or VSH or miscellaneous tapes. Again, in the months subsequent to the arrest, we've been endeavoring through our own office and with the help of the Secret Service to analyze that massive amount of data. And analysis of those devices has revealed certainly that Heuermann had a significant collection of violent, bondage, and torture pornography, which was dating back to 1994, and that material was very similar to the condition that the 2 latest victims were left in. In addition to that, it is alleged that the pornographic images that were accessed by Heuermann are consistent with the crime scenes of both Sandra Casilla and Jessica Taylor. Now, as part of our processing of the electronic devices, the task force discovered a Microsoft Word document entitled HK 2002 through 2004. That was discovered on a laptop in unallocated space, meaning there was an attempt to erase that document. But as most forensic experts know, that even when a document is erased on a device, it is the user could no longer access that document, but forensic experts using particular software can retrieve it, and this document was retrieved in this case. It was a locally created draft, which means the document itself was created on the laptop. It wasn't downloaded from the internet. The document was modified. It was originally created in 2000, and it was overwritten a number of times. and modified between 2001 and 2002. Now, as alleged in the bail application, the task force believes that this is a planning document, and it was utilized by Heuermann to methodically blueprint
Certainly is.
and plan out his kills with excruciating detail. We allege that this document evinces the defendant's intent in committing the charged crimes, that his intent was specifically to locate these victims, to hunt them down, and to bring them under his control and to kill them. His motivations, meticulous planning, and clear intent is obvious. His intent was nothing short but to murder these victims. And we allege that the methodology, the exact method by which these murders were committed in excruciating detail in that document is in some cases identical method to murder the 6 victims in this case. Now,
Don't go on us now.
I don't want to speak further on the document. I believe the document speaks for itself. So if anybody has any questions about the document, I'd be more than willing to answer them. But
They'll ask
before
something
turning it
else. You
over
watch.
for questioning, I want to reiterate, right from the very beginning of this case, from the onset of the case, the first indictment, we said that the case was not over. We said we were going to continue to investigate the case of the Gilgo 4 and find more evidence. We've done that. We've said that we were going to expand the investigation both on Gilgo and off, and to investigate new cases. We've done that, and that's resulted in the 2 new charges that you see here today. So that's what we've done. That's what we've continued to do, and office, along with our partners, are not going to stop. This case continues.
Good.
So with that,
and there's going to be more.
Turn it over for questions.
I think that's foreshadowing,
We'll
guys.
just go, if we go right to left. See you down there.
So I'm just wondering, why is he not being charged with first-degree murder? Because of this web document that he had, planning murder document, why is it second-degree, not first-degree? Is that premeditated?
So first degree, I mean, there are a number of different charging theories you could use for murder in the first degree. One of them is if you charge a murder within a specific period of time. I think it's 18 months. So if you look at, so 3 murder 1 charges and 6 murder 2 charges, and if you look at the time of the deaths, Sandra Castilla 93, Jessica Taylor 2003, Maureen Brainerd Barnes 2007, Melissa Bartholomew 2009, Megan Waterman 2010, and Amber Costello 2010. Those last 3, Bartholomew, Costello, and Waterman, fit within that period of time. So we could charge murder 1. The other ones, unfortunately, fall outside. So we're unable to bring that charge with regard to those the other 5, no wait, the other 3 victims. So that's why it's different. Just sort of the way New York State law is set up.
Now with this indictment, the earliest murder now changes to 1993, which gives it many more years than we had before. So
we asked that question.
How are you guys expanding this to find out other victims that are possibly involved?
Well, I think first and foremost, it expands the information for the public and the media. It doesn't change anything for us. We were, I think in March of this year, we learned of this document. We had been investigating other things. So again, my confidence in saying that we were going to move off of the Gilgo 4 to the new bodies and off of Gilgo itself was based upon my knowledge of the investigation. So that's something
I don't remember him saying that
doing for a while now.
Fine.
It's just sort of become publicly known. We have no information with regard to that.
So just piggybacking off of that, so the alleged murders happening between 93 and 2010, just how alarming is this sweeping timeline you're looking at?
Well, I think this whole case in general is alarming. And I think it underscores that which we already knew, that we have an individual who we are alleging, and again, these are allegations, meticulously planned and executed 6 separate murders. So that in and of itself speaks for itself.
And there are other people named in the court documents or more charges on the way.
So we're going to continue. Again, we're going to continue to investigate, and we'll
Mack
talk
next,
about
guys.
whatever other investigation we're undergoing when and if we bring those charges.
Oh, they're coming.
Well, that's what that document contains, and again, that speaks for itself. We'll make arguments with regard to that, and at the trial, the specific the Stockholm syndrome that pertains to a book, Mindhunter, by a former FBI profiler, John, his name
Douglas.
John Douglas, his name escaped me for a moment. And so we know there are
I'm shouting at
specific
him,
page
like he can hear me.
references to that book and stuff such as a sexual substitution, torture, and also Stockholm syndrome. And our argument, it's our allegation that the defendant was referencing that Mindhunter book not to gain insight into his own behavior, or to modify or change it, but rather to use it as a means of improving his methodology and avoid capture by the authorities.
Yes, I did, Kay.
So you have, and if you go back to that document, they talk about DS or dump sites and Mill Road, Halsey Manor Road and Mill Road. It intersects with each other. So, and if you look at the method of the crime scene, very similar to Jessica Taylor, that's what we could say now. We'll continue to work the case, and if we're able to develop more information and get to the point where we can charge it, we'll talk about it. You had a real question? I heard it.
I'll be shocked if Valerie Mack isn't next.
So he references specific page numbers in the doc, or specific page numbers are represented in the document, which match up to a particular edition of the Mindhunter book. The Mindhunter book was not found in Heuermann's house, but there was another serial killer book written by John Douglas found in his house, and I think that's in the bail document.
Yeah, the cases that haunt us. Remember we showed that?
Looking at the bigger picture profile of a serial killer, what was investigators your thoughts when you uncovering these new sort of details?
We had no thoughts. We
was a
look
dumb
at the
question.
evidence and we follow the evidence. We know that criminals in general, people in general, their modus operandi change through the course of their life. Obviously there was no dismemberment with regard to the original Gilgo 4, but there is with regard to, unfortunately, Ms. Taylor. So, it's just, and again, everyone says, are you expanding the investigation? And, we're doing it under the auspices of the Gilgo task force, but each new case that we look at, each new crime scene we look at it independent of everything.
Good
and then
luck.
we make a determination, where does that evidence leads us? Does it lead us to one particular suspect or another particular suspect? But we don't, get a list and say, okay, we're gonna automatically assume that certain people committed certain crimes. That's not the way to do it. That's not the way we do it. We look at and again,
you gotta deal with evidence, guys.
The bail document you talk about, if you want to know, and this is from John Douglas's book that the document quotes, if you want to know who the painter is, look at the painting. And that is something that Douglas used to tell his investigators. And that pertains specifically to, if you want to know who committed the crime, look at the crime scene and the condition of the victim. And again, if you do that in this case, we would allege that the crime scene and the victims match very much with a lot of, first off, the document that we found, and also a lot of the defendant's internet activities and the bondage and torture type of pornography that he was interested and obsessively searching. So,
Yeah, this is a good question.
I'm familiar with the note. I'm sorry. Oh, okay. So yeah. So you know, that is referenced. What is the specific quote was? Okay, more rest, more playtime. And so basically, what he's talking about is, well, what the allegation and what we would allege is the more rested, you know, the participants
victim.
are, the more you can get done. And he also talks about or the document also talks about crime scene, and if you're sleepy and spending too much time in the crime scene, or your lack of sleep, your chances of making mistakes increase. So again, there's a lot of evincing of intent in that document. So there's, you know, under you know, some of the considerations was in the document, it writes about tape not good, use push pins. And then once we received that, we went into the house and looking at the paneling in the downstairs basement area, we were able to make look at it through infrared light. We were to establish the cordoned off area where adhesive had been placed.
So it was in the
So
house.
we're going to
Wow.
make certain arguments with regard to that at the time of trial. We also found an area where there were push pins into the drop ceiling.
Wow.
There's a T1, you know, T2. We would argue that stands for target 1 and target 2. Target 1, it says Megan with a question mark, and target 2, it says black and then unknown, I believe. You could look at the bail document. That pertains to specific victims. If you look at the timing of it, it wouldn't seem to pertain to Megan Waterman because it's too early in time. There is also a reference to phone numbers of potential victims. We've searched, and we usually block out our phone numbers. We kept that in the document because we've come to an impasse with regard to those phone numbers. So if any members of the public have information with regard to those phone numbers, we would certainly be receptive to receive that. I think that would be fair to say, yeah. Yes. Yeah. Valerie Mack was, if you go down, you have Halsey Manor Road, and then Mill Road is like further, like as you said, away from the expressway, I believe, or the exit to the expressway. But in that same area, Valerie Mack was a little bit further into the woods.
Yeah, about a half a mile. Yeah, he didn't stop in 2010.
So the quick answer to that, yes, we have. We're still developing that, and you know, obviously, you know, none of that is actionable. And you know, with regard to the missing, you know, cases, we're looking at all of them, and you know, but we're looking at them, you know, not necessarily in the context of any particular defendant, including this one. We're looking at them, you know, separate and apart as missing cases. And with the universe of information that we have, not only in this case, but other cases, how can we work towards solving some of these cold cases? Yes. So I would say that, you know, it was, as I've said all along, it's a necessary investigative step. It's a huge area. And we felt that we needed to do that at some point in time. We wanted to do it before the summer, and the brush got real thick. So, you know, we didn't know logistically how we were going to do it. We knew it was going to be difficult, but you don't not do something because it's difficult. And again, fortunately, our our partners in the New York State Police, the Suffolk County Police, as always, and the NYPD. That their canine units went out and they did a fantastic job. We have so much gratitude to them for helping us out, but no new bodies were found. So again, it doesn't matter what I believe. It matters what we can prove.
What the evidence
This
shows. Yeah.
is,
Come on, guys.
a significant investigative step. This was a significant investigative finding, and we'll continue to develop those things. We'll get to you next. I'm sorry. Could you say that again? Whoever said what they said, could you say? Oh, sorry. I didn't. Yeah. Well, as you know, as we've said all along, if you look at the DNA evidence and the trace evidence that we've done, it doesn't happen overnight. So there's additional testing that we're undergoing. We just have to see the results of that. Well, you always see suspicious things, but in any case, but is it is it a stain of something benign, or is it an investigatively significant stain? Only our forensic scientists can tell that after a lot of.
I wish they'd ask if there's other DNA in the hopper.
Well, we've in our bail letter, and we're pretty much constrained by our bail letter to what we can publicly disclose. We found other information, which will be disclosed at the time of trial. So we're not gonna get into it, and that's not to say they exist. Just not. We can't. Ethically, I'm really enjoying from talking about it.
Can you tell us when the document on the laptop was first discovered, and is that what prompted the research?
Again, in any effective investigation, it's never just one thing. Certainly that was something that was significant and led us in among other things in that direction. That document, I believe we recovered it in March 7th of this year. Fairly recently, and certainly given the history of the sprawling history of this case. Go ahead.
You said you had a lot of images and videos of torture porn on his devices. Were any of them his own victims?
We saw no evidence of that.
Okay, that's interesting.
One set of murders different from another set, and does that indicate that he was sort of changing his tactics over the years, or is it all consistent when you look at all the evidence so far?
Well, I think if you look at a macro view and a micro view, these are young women tragically lost their lives and were murdered as a result of a person who meticulously planned their murders. If you look at the earlier murders as opposed to the later murders, it does appear that there was some changes.
Of course, there's
exactly
changes.
what happened with regard to the Gilgo 4, we're foreclosed about knowing a lot of that stuff because they were skeletonized. Jessica and Sandra were more recently found, so we were able to glean more information from the crime scene. So, I guess it just depends what your perspective is on with regard to all that. Well, as I think I previously, it was a impetus, but in any good investigation, there's usually a number of different things that cause that. I would say it was a significant one, and it was also an impetus to go back out into those areas and search with the dogs. And Manorville and North Sea and every place else we went.
Yeah, this is amazing, guys.
So as we said, Karen Vergata, her remains were found partially in Jones Beach and partially in I think by Atlantic
Fire
Beach,
Island,
by across from Blue Point on Fire Island. So all those cases, every person who was tragically murdered in Suffolk County, they're in play.
That's significant. Good question.
So we're not going to stop. We can't stop. We owe that to the victims. That's the
Good.
least we can do. So we're, we understand we have a court case. We understand we'll go forward with that. But we're not going to stop. So however that works, however we need to do that, we're going to do it. We have a great team. We have a great team of investigators. We have a great team of prosecutors, and you do what you have to do in this business. We will get it done. It's, it's daunting. There's a lot, but we'll get. Oh yeah. Yeah, there's like just reading off just gives, and a lot of them are encrypted, so that when you have an encrypted device, that attempt to get in is ongoing. You're trying to crack the code, so to speak. So that's an ongoing effort.
Yep. He tried to hide it, but he failed.
I'm not going to discuss. I'm not going to discuss that again because my speculation, my thoughts don't matter. What I can prove in court, speak through an indictment, I will talk about these 6 because, these are allegations at this point. We look forward to proving those allegations, but they are mere allegations at this point. So
Confess, you mean?
I am, he's represented by competent counsel. I cannot ethically reach out to the defendant, so I wouldn't. And even if I was inclined, I cannot. So we'll speak through his attorney. And there's in any case, there's always a dialogue between the defense and the prosecution, or at least there should be. And a myriad of topics are discussed on a daily basis, which should remain private between the parties.
Has any of the
Yes.
evidence that you found so far indicated that you might have another suspect in question, whether someone who was with him or a family member or something, keeping someone on your radar?
So if you look at the evidence in this case, and it points that the defendant acted alone, and then if you look at that planning document, that makes it even more apparent that this is the 6 charged cases were meticulously planned, and they were done at a time when the defendant knew he would have both access to the victims and other people would not be around. Okay. I believe one of the victims are going to speak, so we're going to give some of the victims, whoever likes to speak, the opportunity to do that. Thank you very much.
So we're going to see what the victims' families have to say here. So that was absolutely insane. I'm going to hold off on. We've been streaming this for a bit here. Guys, that was we had pretty much gone over what many of the things that they said in this presser. But there's a couple of takeaways that I saw on this, and you guys can, if you agree or not. The issue that comes down to is that they have additional cases that they're going to be looking into. He said it. Tierney already said it, and he said Valerie Mack. He pretty much said yes, right? So Valerie Mack, I think, is the next one up that is available for an indictment. And I also think that Peaches is on the table. Now, the question that comes down to is, and guys, I'm going to throw this out to you as a challenge. We want to research Megan. I know we have Megan Waterman, but we're going to throw this out as a challenge so that you guys can start looking into some of these Long Island cases. Now, the name Megan could be Megan Waterman, of course, but it could also be a street name where they were using it as a moniker that they were using out on the street and not their real name, or posting stuff online. So that's something else that I want you guys to consider. And I want you to also to consider looking into some of the other cases that are still open on Long Island. And if you find stuff that is actually interesting, whatever, you could always shoot me an email. I'm going to put my email in the chat right now for those of you that don't have it. And I'm just going to I'm not going to put the @ symbol because then the bots grab a hold of it. But if you find something that's interesting and you think you can either post it in the community page in a comment, or you can actually, okay, here, look at it. Mike has returned. Mike, welcome back. So what do you think, Mike, from that
What
presser and
happened to
stuff?
Dave?
Dave had to do some real work. He had to go.
I think Tierney gave so much information. I mean, more than I expected. He pretty much mapped out everything in the bill affidavit. So I think it's definitely going to lead to more homicide charges. He kind of alluded to that they're still looking at other forensic evidence that they might have recovered, in his house. So it certainly sounds like it's gonna. It sounds like the homicides may have happened in his residence, in his kill room.
Yeah, which I was wrong about, and I'm going to make sure I publicly say that, because I originally said that I didn't think anything happened in his home, just because of the fact that it was those communities there in Massapequa Park are so close knit that people are always in everybody's business. So flat out wrong about that one. After especially hearing about the nail holes or the pinholes in the and now we know why they were taking that paneling out of the house too, right? So it was in the ceiling, they said. So it's been an incredible investigation, and that information was just developed recently, right? So when that information came out, because they would have taken that stuff the first time if they knew about that 10 months ago. So this is something really, really new.
Hang on, Joe. I got to close the Zoom. I think I'm on the Zoom with News 12 still. Hang on a second.
Sure.
Close this.
So the question, Stace, did he have soundproof walls? They did. The police, when they talked about the vault back then, they talked about the vault inside. They said it wasn't soundproof, but they did have cement walls on it. So that's another interesting little tidbit there.
Yeah, so they were also looking for remnants of tape, maybe masking tape or duct tape that he used to put the plastic up, right? To Dexter his house. Now they got the pinholes. Really good job recovering this. And like Dave said earlier,
amazing.
Good job by Suffolk recovering all this evidence a million years ago and still preserving it. And now we can use it to link to charge Rex with this 2 homicides and potentially other homicides. So excellent job.
Yeah, Violet asks a question here. My phone's been going off the absolute wall, whatever, but did all the family members know about the vault? Well, I believe it was where he kept his guns, and I think that's why I guess the wife just figured that he built that for security reasons for the guns. But I think we now know otherwise why this was built, and it's actually kind of interesting in certain aspects of that.
A reporter asked too a good question, which we talked about. I think you and Josh talked about how his MO evolved, right? He learned. He learned from reading books. He learned sadly from his experiences. He got older. Maybe he got lazier. Maybe it was too much work to do what he did in the previous murders. So he learned to be more efficient. I hate to say it like that, but to be a better killing machine. This monster. And I think they have enough information to prove that Tierney has. So I mean, good stuff today. Good stuff to give some closure to the family members.
Right, and you can see how this actually developed, Mike. And I want to talk more about this tomorrow morning when we're on roll call. But how this evolved, right? So the first time they come, of course, they took apart the tub, right? They took apart the area around the tub to see if they could find, I guess they were looking for blood or other body fluids. But this time around, they took the pipes, right? They took all the pipes. So this information has just been developed over a short period of time for them to go in there and take this stuff out. And people say, well, the pipes, it's been years. There are drains in the pipes, and those drains trap a lot of different things. And it could be, pieces of bone or clothing or what have you. And of course, hair, right? And that's something that they're going to be looking deep into it. So we're going to see exactly what happens. But as this story develops, Mike, I think there's going to be, if you could follow it more tonight, like I am, we can have some other things to discuss tomorrow. But I'm going to take another deep dive into the affidavit and see if there's something that we missed when we were going over it, because we were doing it live and I was kind of rushing in order to get to that press.
You did a good job. It was good.
Thank you.
I was watching it with the chat, and it was excellent.
Thanks. And the chat has been. Sorry, I wasn't able to get fully involved in the chat like I normally do, but I was trying to keep this thing running. I was trying to find a stream that was working, and that damn Instagram wasn't working for me. And
This, it was
Christine,
gold.
what do you?
I just want to tell you, it was gold. Yours and Josh's reaction as you were reading the affidavit along with us was so good. I mean, except that you had your logo blocking your face. Everybody was messaging me, tell Joe to turn that logo off, because you were giving such good information, and we could hear your reaction, but we couldn't see your reaction. So missed opportunity.
I was
there,
saving you guys. I was saving you guys the face there on that part.
No.
But as long as you can see Josh and Dave and you guys, that's fine by me. But yeah, no, I mean, because it was the first time we were actually hearing those things, and it was actually quite shocking to hear exactly what transpired in this thing. My God, there is that very strong possibility that he kept these victims alive for days. Specifically that get them rest so there's more fun. I mean, geez, and the Stockholm syndrome.
He tortured him.
Yeah,
it sure sounds like he tortured him. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, the Stockholm syndrome thing about your captor, following along with that too. So it was absolutely incredible. But I want to thank you, Mike, for joining us. I want to also thank Josh, even though he's not here, and Dave. We're going to be ending the stream now. We're going for 2.5 hours already. I want to thank everybody who donated and was in the chat today. I didn't get a chance to really get engaged with you guys. I really appreciate it. Tomorrow morning, Mike is going to be back on with me. We're going to dissect all of this stuff tonight, and we're going to have some new insights for you tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. I want to really thank you guys for doing this. I know there's other shows out there. Mike, we had over 1,000 people watching, which is a personal record for this show. And it's still, at this point, we still have 700 people watching. And considering we only have 11,000 subscribers, I think that's pretty amazing. So you guys, please just remember to like and share and subscribe, and we'll get this channel moving, and we can actually get something really good going on in this channel. And I do that because you guys have been so helpful with that, and I appreciate that. So Mike, I will see you in the morning, 8 a.m.
Yes, sir.
And everybody else, I hope you guys can make the live. If not, you can always catch the replay. You guys try to enjoy the day. I know this was a tough one, but we'll all hang in there, and you guys enjoy the great day. Thank you for all the nice things. Yeah, we're going to talk about Gloria Alfred tomorrow, the lawyer that was in the background there. Definitely want to get into a little bit of that tomorrow. Mike, we'll see you. Thank you, man. Hang out 1 second, Mike. We're going to end the stream.
Bye, everybody.
All right, guys.